Topi is looking good, boss.
Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has tendered his resignation today as hundreds of protesters attacked his office and vandalized the residences of several political leaders against the government's ban on social media. The protests left 19 people dead and over 300 others injured. The protesters, under the banner of Gen Z, shouted slogans such as KP Chor, Desh Chor, that is KP the thief, leave the country, and take action against the corrupt leaders in multiple parts of the capital city, that is Kathmandu. Now, the agitators, what we are told, they torched Oli's residence in Bhaktapur while he was at the Prime Minister's residence at Baltabar. The protesters also torched the residence of former Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak at Naikap in Kathmandu, and even after he had resigned from his post on Monday. Now, Oli's resignation also came hours after he had called for an all party meeting to discuss Nepal's fast deteriorating political situation and intensifying the student led anti government protests that have spread across the country. Oli had also issued a statement announcing the meeting for 6 p.m. That meeting was supposed to happen today at 6 p.m., though the venue was not specified. And he said that dialogue was the only way to resolve. So now what is happening is, I'll just tell you the latest situation, that protests in Nepal still continue despite the curfew orders in Kathmandu and other parts of the country, and even as after the country's government lifted the ban on the social media. Demonstrators had demanded Oli's resignation, saying that Lekhak's exit was not sufficient. And that is when Oli took a call to resign. And reportedly, this resignation letter is doing the rounds on the social media. So, what is really happening with the Nepal crisis? Is this a crisis which has been fomented by some outside forces? How does one look at the situation? What is going to be the spillover effect on countries like India, on China? What is America going to do? All these are questions which need an answer at the moment. Joining me this evening is Sanjay Kapoor, international affairs expert, veteran journalist, who's the editor of Hard News. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining. We have Shubir Bhaumik, who's a senior journalist, political commentator, keeps a close track on what's really happening in Nepal. Thank you so much, Shubir. And I'll begin with you, Shubir. What is this crisis which has all of a sudden, it seems, is subsuming Nepal? What is really happening on the ground? Is it just because of a social media ban? It's difficult to believe that such massive protest can happen only because of a social media ban. Was that the trigger, or were there some other factors as well?
This whole crisis in Nepal is eerily similar to last August Bangladesh that brought down the government of Sheikh Hasina. There are four very redeeming features in these two crises. Number one, who is leading the agitation? It's not an established political party. It's not an established political organization. It's something very new. Hami Nepal, an NGO which was very long. It was set up in 2015 by a gentleman called Sudan Gurung, who apparently is an event manager by profession and had lost his child in the Nepal earthquake. And then, from disaster relief, he branched off into youth awareness programs. That's very interesting. Youth awareness, funded by whom, created, what was the agenda? I don't want to get into that right now. So Hami Nepal, this organization has been leading the protest. Last week, they have coordinators all over Nepal, and they have been sending out messages asking students to come on Monday to near the parliament building to protest against, the social media ban, which was brought about by Oli's government. But there was also another agenda, corruption. More very importantly, the students, especially those from schools, were asked to come in school uniforms with school bags, so that if something happens to them, massive emotional backlash. Same like Bangladesh, absolutely, where Bangladesh, again, the BNP or the Jamaat apparently not in the front of bringing down Sheikh Hasina. It was this anti-discriminatory students platform, right? And they also, there were reports that they have been trained by some Western organizations. There are reports that Hami Nepal has got substantial funding, donations from Coca-Cola and other Western organizations. So, this may look like a very spontaneous movement where there is a ground for anger in Nepal. Youth unrest, there is a ground for it. The economy is failing, unemployment is very high, corruption is mind boggling, and that's all there. But, I have covered so many agitations across this region, and I firmly believe that without a leadership and without an organization, no movement can be successful. No agitation can reach its desired goal. Here, the desired goal, as in Bangladesh last year, was to bring down the government. If you recall, Nilu, this anti-discrimination movement, they were agitating, they got an issue. Here, the social media ban. Out there, it was the quotas. The quotas meant for, families of freedom fighters. But when Hasina accepted that I will take away the quotas, there will be no quotas or practically next to nothing in terms of quotas, then they came up with a demand, and this is now public knowledge. They said that we have to make a demand which the prime minister can't accept, which is you step down. Here also same thing. It started off with the agitation against social ban, and then when the firing happens, here again, like Bangladesh, the police overreacts, okay? And they shoot, and a lot of people get killed. Same like Bangladesh, absolutely same. And then I'm given to understand that one of the reasons why Oli stepped down today, apart from the violence spreading across, and here it's gone one step forward. In Bangladesh, at least Awami League was attacked, their allies, but not the other political parties. Here, if you notice, it's not only the house of Prime Minister Oli or his home minister, which is burned down. Deuba, Nepal Congress leader, his house has been attacked. His wife, who is the foreign minister and who was running a school, that school was set on fire. President Ramesh Podialji's house has been attacked. Even Prachanda's house, I'm yet to get confirmation. Even Prachanda, the great leader of the Maoists. So all three major political parties of Nepal Congress, CPN, MN, and Nepal, Maoists, all three major political parties, their top leaders, they've been attacked. So here is again, I'm fairly sure you will come to see, like in Bangladesh, another interim arrangement. And then in the name of democracy, there are powers which will jump in and say, oh, well, already, if you see, yesterday after the killings, the Western embassies, they issued a statement saying that these killings are brutal, barbaric, this, that, or, far over the top, etc. So again, you will find that, people who uphold the banner of democracy, जिन्होंने democracy का ठेका ले रखा है ना दुनिया में, ये लोग फिर से अभी उछल कूद शुरू करेंगे. They will come in. So, it may look on the face of it, and I've closely followed Bangladesh and I'm closely following Nepal now. This looks like a regime change operation using non-political actors. The template, Nilu, of this movement is 2013 Euromaidan operation, where a pro-Russian government was brought down through similar agitation. Apparently non-political players, extensive use of social media to ensure mobilization and mass protest. Eerily similar.
No, but Shubir, when you say that it looks like a regime change operation, who do you think is trying to change the regime? Is it the forces within the country? Are there forces outside the country which are trying to overthrow Oli? What do you suspect?
No, out here, it's very clear that they're not just trying to overthrow Oli, they're attacking leaders of other political parties. So they're trying to create a situation in which none of the established political parties, will dare take advantage of Oli's ouster. Oli Girgia, somebody else coming in, Deuba coming in, staking claims. Here, everybody has been attacked. So all the important political leaders, if Prachanda's house has also been attacked, as is rumored, then none of the established political parties. So basically, they're targeting the existing political class. And this is the new, the Gen Next or whatever you call it, this new type of agitation, which started off with Ukraine in 2013-14. Then we have seen Bangladesh, we have seen this in other parts of the world as well, Middle East included. It's a new generation movement where there are three redeeming features. A, use of apparently non-political players, student, youth, NGOs. Number two, extensive use of social media to whip up unrest and ensure mobilization and taking it to the desired. And the desired objective here, it's not replacing a government, it's bringing the existing government down. So here there is a clear political objective. You're trying to bring down a government. But apparently non-political players, people who are below the radar, most of these governments in our part of the world as elsewhere have intelligence agencies. Now, in all these cases, you will find that people who have led this movement are NGOs who have been below the intelligence radar. People who thought, they are in disaster relief, they're doing youth awareness, apparently very innocuous stuff. But then they are so deadly that in 1.5 days of agitation, a government has fallen. Do you think it's a very simple thing? That a government which controls it has its security organizations, agencies, security forces, army, police, within 1.5 days of agitation, the government falls. It's not a joke, So there is definitely a bigger hand, and there is a pattern. There is a clear pattern. Especially, I can easily compare this with the movement I saw in Bangladesh, which I covered very closely. I know the players who were there. Here also, I know some of the players, I don't know all. But if I am not wrong, you will now find demand for an interim government, and people who have led this movement, this, like in Bangladesh, they brought in Yunus, but the main people were this youth and students, coordinators. It's a new generation, new culture. You don't have presidents and secretaries of these organizations. You'll have coordinators. Samonnak, as they say in Bengali. These are the people who are in the forefront of the agitation, and maybe they will bring in the former chief justice or somebody like Kalyan Sir, somebody who is acceptable to them and who will play their ball, like they brought in Yunus in Bangladesh, who was not.
One quick question. One quick question. You had forwarded me the visual of a chopper, or a plane which is waiting to carry Oli to some country.
Helicopter. It's an helicopter. It's a Nepal Army helicopter. I know the site.
Right. So if it's a Nepal Army helicopter, where is Mr. Oli planning to leave? What are the reports saying? What is the sense you're getting from the ground over there?
It's difficult to predict because Oli has been close to the Chinese. Oli belatedly has developed some relationship with India also. I don't know where he will head or whether the army will safely shelter him. You see, now much depends on the army. If the army shelters him secretly in one of its own bases where people won't come to know, they can do it. In Bangladesh, the army refused to do that. The army did not take a chance. They told Sheikh Hasina, you go wherever you have to, not in this country. If you are here, it can be a disaster. So I really don't know. Much depends on the Nepal army, what they are up to, whether they're going to shelter somebody who has been prime minister till the last hour or so, whether they're going to shelter him in Nepal. I have absolutely no idea about the destination where Oli may be headed. But I really don't know if he tries to go to China, whether the Chinese will shelter him. India, well, I have my doubts. Whether the Nepal army will shelter him, I really don't know. But definitely, this is a Nepal army helicopter, and he's getting into that. So he's definitely got into that helicopter.
No,
and the helicopters have limited range, as you know, Neelu.
Shubir, but is it sure that he's planning to flee the country, as what reports are saying and people on the social media are talking about?
No, I don't go by social media. I'm an old school journalist who won't like to say something unless I'm absolutely sure and I have primary sources. But I really don't know. Honestly, I really don't know whether he's trying to flee the country, as some are reporting. I don't know what is the basis for those reports, because it may well be that the army, I really don't know the attitude of the army. In August last year, because I have much stronger sources in Bangladesh, including inside the Bangladesh army, I knew for a fact the General Walker had asked Sheikh Hasina to leave. So I came up with the story actually on federal first before every. So, here I'm not terribly sure what is the army's role. What will Nepal army do? Because if the Nepal army decides to shelter the prime minister in a secret place or something, well, they can do it. Um,
Okay.
um, but I have no real evidence if he's fleeing Nepal. Because Nilu, at the end of the day, helicopters, their range is limited. These are not long range aircrafts.
Obviously, he's not going to fly by a chopper to another country, that I'm pretty sure of. But
No,
I'm
no, he
concerned
can fly. He can fly by a chopper definitely to India or to China
about.
because Nepal has borders with these two countries. He can't fly to US or Dubai, but he can certainly fly by a chopper to India and China. But I really don't know where he's going. So
Right. I
I'll
want
be
to come to
honest.
Sanjay. I want to come to Sanjay now. Sanjay, what do you make of the crisis which is unfolding in Nepal? To say that this scale of a crisis has happened only because of the social media ban would be some sort of an understatement. Has this situation been brewing for quite some time? What is your reading, and what does the situation look like to you?
I quite agree with what Mr. Bhaumek has said, that no agitation, no demonstration, no protest take place on its own. It would, even if it does, it will die down within no time. So there is obviously some organization that has gone into putting the whole thing together. But having said that, there has been a great amount of turmoil within the country. There's been so many people who are leaving the country, almost 9 lakhs per year. 771,000 are the people who have signed up for work visas, and 200,000 for to study abroad. So if you have such a huge brain drain and desperation to somehow get out of the country, there is something dramatically wrong with that place. And on top of that, when what does the social media mean for the Nepalese? I mean, if you go to Nepal, you'll find that they are very, very sharp on social media. They are always tweeting, or they are sending messages or stuff like that. And that is how they connect with their global community. People who have left their country, they are on top of the view on how to get out, how to get out of it, how to manage the affairs, what to do, what not to do. So in a certain way, there is a great amount of education that keeps happening with the people who use the social media. Mind you, this particular agitation, they made it a point that they nobody above 26 years of age is going to participate. And the virulence, the anger that started developing in Nepal had to be seen to be believed, because if it was just organized and there was no anger, it would have died down. But that is not something that has happened. So surely, what we have seen is that a combination, a collection of two issues. We've seen the same kind of mood as Bhomik Saab rightly pointed out in Bangladesh, and also in to some extent in Sri Lanka and in Nepal also. But Nepal is a bit tricky. It's a cockpit of intrigue in a certain way. You have China on one hand, which doesn't really want to dabble in the affairs of this country as long as their interests are protected. And you also have India. India has a lot of interest. In fact, they have been accused in the last few months to trying to get the Hindu king back on in the saddle. And some agitation which had been taking place had been attributed to Indian force, Indian agencies. So we are not very sure. The jury is still out as to exactly what is really playing out. But having said that, Nepal looks very grim. And Mr. Oli has been very clever of late. He's been anti-Indian sometime. He's been trying to play all kinds of games. In the early days, he was very pro-India, but now he's been seen to be anti-India. And if he goes away, he's unlikely to come back anytime soon. And the person who has to be watched is the mayor of Kathmandu, Balen. Balen is very popular there.
Absolutely.
He's the one who's cleaned up. He's cleaned up the streets, and I've been there a few months ago in Nepal, and I thought that he'd done a fantastic job. People in Delhi should learn something from the mayor that is running this. So he's the one. He's a young man. He's about 35 years of age, a rapper, and many things that the young people do. So let's see. He's asked for peace, and he's asked for greater pause in the situation that is happening at the moment. So that is how the situation stands at the moment.
But Sanjay, what about these reports that Donald Trump could have fomented this trouble to teach a lesson to China? Many people have been talking about that as well on the social media. Do you think that America would have a hand in this, or maybe some neighboring country who doesn't want to see Nepal thriving. What about those conspiracy theories which people have already started talking about?
So, Nilu, I kind of agree with what Mr. Bhaumek has said, but Mr. Trump is very different from the earlier Democrats who have been in power or how the US has been behaving till now. He has been more in a certain way aligned with those who oppose the rise of, you can say, the street protest and all that. He's generally opposed to it, but the script which is being played out is very similar to what the Americans are used to doing in Ukraine, or for that matter, in different parts of South
Yes.
Asia. And it looks like that. But, this is very different in certain ways because Mr. Trump is not like that. And what does Mr. Trump get by doing whatever he did? In a certain way, I would not put it beyond some other forces who are doing it, possibly in Nepal. I won't like to mention it, but there is a great amount of, you can say, doubt about their intentions.
Right. Okay. But what do you think, Sanjay, is going to be or could be the impact on India? Now, for example, I'll just show you a tweet, what has happened. If you can play out that tweet, all the flights, I think there is a travel advisory by Indigo. Now, say, for example, this, in view of the prevailing situation in Kathmandu, the airport has been closed for operations. Consequently, all flights to and from Kathmandu stand suspended as of now. If your travel is impacted, you may conveniently opt for an alternate flight or claim a refund by visiting our website. So basically, the airport has been closed down, I believe, and that is why the flights are getting suspended. But what else could be the impact on a country like India? And what should we be ready with? Because I'm sure since the borders are very, very closely connected, there might be people coming in from Nepal to India. And how will the country stop that influx of people at the moment?
I'm not very sure about whether we should stop the influx of people or whether they should come here or not. It's a different way of looking at life and looking at politics. I think there should be a free movement of people in some ways, but the governments have become far strict about the movement and how they perceive people and how they perceive the citizen of different countries. But having said that, it is bound to have an implications on India because there are a lot of Indians who work there. There are too much of travel, too much of business that transacts between the two countries. It could be more, but the level of business is there between small companies, not the big companies. And it could be India has more strategic interest in certain ways, not really business interest in Nepal. The strategic interest is obviously pertaining to China and also about that region. And it's been very careful about how it manages. I mean, in the past, many people from the officers from the India's intelligence agencies have been parked in Nepal. They've been doing their work, trying to ensure to ensure that whatever the government of the day wants should be done because they don't want Nepal to start believing that they are hostile towards India. There's been amount of effort on part of Indian government to keep them in good humor. Although when Mr. Prime Minister Modi had gone there, he tried to, you know, give a different kind of color to his entire trip. And some people thought that he was trying to turn Nepal into a Hindu state, and he was discouraged during one of his meetings. So that has kind of changed now, and Nepal realizes that without Indian support, without economic support, they can't do very much. China may be there, but China's distance is far more in terms of making any kind of business links with them. So India is very critical for Nepal, and that is why India has to be mindful of what is really happening. They have to ensure that whatever that's taking place is not
No, but
hostile to
Sanjay,
them.
can India really play a role at the moment in controlling the situation in Nepal? Because a stable border and a stable neighbor will mean that there will be stability in India as well. What role can the India play in the current crisis in Nepal, according to you?
I think India can play a role, and if India can't play a role, it should be ashamed of it because it means they've done few things wrong. It is a country which relies a lot on India in terms of trade because it's a landlocked country. The entire trade per se takes place through Calcutta and other ports in India. And in many ways, you have, as I said, so many Nepalese coming to India to work and to study here. So the links are there, the interests are there, and we have a common religion, common language in some ways. Hindi is in a certain ways, but Nepalese also like Hindi. So I think we have a leverage. It's not that we don't have a leverage. We should be able to use that. But having said that, it has to be done very gently, without antagonizing, without choosing the wrong side. They should read the straws in the wind and go with the people interest rather than go, become hostile to their interests. So it's a certain way I think India can do if they want to do something.
So you're saying that if India wants, it can do a lot. But coming to you now, Shubir, uh, what are the challenges now before Nepal, and how much further can the situation deteriorate than what it is right now?
Well, before I answer that, let me tell you at the moment, um, if this crisis spins out of control, and if it leads to the formation of some interim government where the established political parties are not represented, India will have a problem, because India has dealt with the major political parties there so far. The problem that we now face in Bangladesh, we have always dealt with the Army League. We really don't know who to play with now, how to handle this new situation, how to handle Yunus. Major challenge. So I have a feeling here that India has again been caught napping. We were caught napping in Bangladesh, and we have been caught napping now with the suddenness of the agitation leading to the ouster of the Oli government here. And it's not just Oli government. India's traditional friend, Nepal Congress, they were in this government as well. Sher Bahadur Deva's wife was the foreign minister. Her school has also been burned down. If Prachanda, whom we have tried to cultivate at some point of time, if his play house has also been burned, who are we going to deal with? And I'm fairly sure that our people don't really have, they're not really aware of the people who have led this agitation. How many Nepal people, Sudan Gurung, so India will have a major problem catching up, with the new realities. And here, the advantage will be with those foreign countries who have a connection with the guys who have been in this agitation. You know, that's very clear now. Like in Bangladesh, the student leaders who were in the agitation, they're close to the American embassy. Everybody knew it. Yunus is close to US. So obviously, the US now, if you look at the way the US Charge Affairs has been moving around in the country, today meeting the Chief Justice, tomorrow meeting the Army Chief, meeting Yunus whenever he wants, practically functioning like a viceroy. So here in Nepal, it will depend very much on who has, which country has direct access to the people who have led this movement and who will now hold controlling levers in their own hand. And I'm fairly sure India again has been caught napping. We'll have much of catching up to do. I'm sorry to say that, but that's, I think, the reality.
One and one last question before I wind up the show, Sanjay, to you, that how do you see now the how do you see the situation now unfolding in Nepal now? Because if Oli has resigned, a lot of other ministers have resigned. There is a complete mayhem on the streets. And now that Oli has resigned, do you see the situation subsiding in any way? Who is going to intervene? Who's going to take a call? Now, this NGO, this big group, Gen Z, which is spearheading the protests, are there going to be leaders from amongst this group? I mean, I really can't fathom right now how the situation will normalize in Nepal, according to you.
It's a very challenging situation if you ask me, primarily because there is no government now. The entire government has collapsed, disappeared, houses burned down, they're on the run. So nothing much is happening there. I mentioned the name of Balen. He's the only stabilizing force. He's the mayor of Kathmandu, built up good credibility, belongs to the young generation. He's the only one whose voice would be heard or would be accepted. But I'm not very sure politically whether he is aligned to any party or to any group, or he can command,
He has
the
supported the student agitation, by the way, yesterday.
good. So,
Yeah.
He
anyways,
did
let's
that.
see how. Sorry.
I said Balan actually supported the student agitation yesterday, and the editorial in one of the top Nepali papers today actually projects him as a leader, the Kantipur Daily. They project him as a leader. So you are
So
on the
that is
ball,
that is
actually.
so here you are. I mean, this is exactly how things are going to play out. Primarily because he doesn't belong to the Nepali Congress or the Maoist gangs which are there in some ways, because there have been two, three of them. All these parties, sometime like amoeba, they come back, come together, they go away. But this is a very fluid situation. And I said the economy is primarily the reason why people want to do something about it. They've allowed matters to drift. They almost 900,000 people leave the country every year, and that is the cause of worry. It's a draining situation, and they think that they can somehow take matters in their own hand and do something, but it's unlikely to happen. And primarily because I don't think India has the imagination to do very much. They will try to support it, but Nepal for a while was looking for some kind of Western hook on their lives and their system. That is unlikely to happen because whether it is the US or whether it is China, they left India to manage the affairs. But till now, nothing has happened.
Right. So there's a continuously unfolding situation in Nepal. And just to give a recap to all the viewers before we wind up this show, that the Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has already tendered his resignation, and the protesters are still out on the streets. They vandalized his office, they vandalized his residence, and of course, this protest is called an anti corruption protest, which is against the government. So, how will the situation be controlled in Nepal is anybody's guess right now, but the situation is totally in a flux at the moment. Thank you so much. We'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Shubir Bhaumik, Sanjay Kapoor. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.